Orb on the movements of the Earth, episode 23. We're getting so close to the end here. It's not clear if that's true or not, though I don't think Novak's thinking about the future right now. Just like your life. Money? Me? Never. What you talking about? Sometimes it feels like the end is near. I feel like it always feels like that sometimes, if you know what I mean. There's something I was watching that made me have this thought. It comes to mind now and then of like, I don't really want allies. What I want are friends. I mean, it's wonderful if you have allies towards a common goal, but I think the distinction is important because I don't want to align myself categorically, completely with any sort of group or affiliation or have loyalty to a person on the basis that we have the same common goal right now. Because if it's not based on something deeper than that, and that's sort of what I mean by friendship. Like if you're in an allegiance with Antony, because there's nothing deeper there, because there's nothing really good there, that has a propensity to just come back and bite you in the ass in the end. The same things you were overlooking. Novak experienced that, so like why would it be any different for Draka, for example? Novak has an interesting point here. Draka's not totally clean or safe in this relationship. 80% of a lot. It's inevitable. Get in or get left behind. Yeah, that's true, come to think of it. I don't know why that didn't occur to me. They are aligned in that way, Antony and Draka, the new god, the new orthodoxy. Boy, do you not even really know how tragic that is for you. That's an interesting statement. And this is an excellent question and criticism. Well, wandering is how you find what's right. Your daughter said that, actually. Or, in this translation, morality is something you find when you're lost. This is true, yeah. This will probably always be true. It's putting faith in the process and people to figure it out. That's an important point too, yeah. It's all nicely said. I mean, that's not an argument. So many points were made that you could debate, but, you know, also there's name calling. Wow, what a monologue. One of the things I've always loved about the show is that the antagonistic arguments, typically they bring some heat and they actually offer really valid criticism. So, like, I actually think Novak's criticism there, though it's sort of surprising to hear from him because I didn't think he was this deeply cognizant of this. I would say this is the biggest issue of the loss of faith. And that's that it's dangerous to have nothing in that slot because it's actually not possible to have nothing. And if you don't believe in some sort of higher order or structure that's above you and your whims, then any manner of things can fill that space. And it is perfectly possible for that to be wonderful and healthy and constructive and good for humanity without ever touching organized religion. But at the same time, there are all sorts of unspeakably horrible things, or I mean, less dramatically, just lesser things that will probably end up filling that space if not like very heavily, deliberately scrutinized and examined. I think you have to be careful when you diagnose a problem thinking that it's unique to your moment in your time. But just at least in terms of what I'm noticing and how I feel like there's been an escalation of sort of loss of grounding and a sort of steepening of that subjectivist curve of like my opinions themselves have an influential or causative effect on reality itself. My truth, your truth, exacerbated by the fact that we are niching all the way down to sort of an atomic level of thought and opinion, since there no longer is sort of a common guiding mechanism. Because content and messaging is now so easily made and broadcasted, there's almost always going to be a market for just about everything. And the way that it'll appear to the consumer is that is the truth, right? Like they're seeing the entirety of what there is and what thoughts there are and what people are, despite the fact there's a good chance that at least in some way they've unwittingly entered some sort of closed bubble. And I think there are some other insidious effects of this sort of loss of greater structure, greater purpose. Importance sort of breaks down into less important things. Those are things like hedonism, you know, my pleasure, group identity, political identity, factionalism, which is not to say that none of those things are important or worth considering or engaging with. It's that those are not the highest thing. And it can get a little weird when those are put forth as all that matters. That to me is a sort of subjectivism that makes anything okay, right? Like if your highest orientation is your group and there's nothing beyond that, right? There's no common morality. There's no deeper beauty that has to be preserved and fought for. There's no moral code that demands you treat others with respect and love. And the only thing that matters is like my group wins, then anything is fine. You know, you're free to cross any lines you want in pursuit of victory. For all the focus we have on technology, our deficiencies are not technological. They are spiritual. What I am getting from Jaka's point and what I think the show's answer is as a whole, well, it's a bunch of things. One is that the problems of the phenomenon I just described are not solved by false belief. And in fact, they are not really related to God. These are just sort of human issues. You know, humans want to sort of faction down. The truth is too big. Humans want to simplify and streamline. We want just simple things we can believe in. We want easy identities. We drift towards a sort of stagnant place intellectually. We can't hold the full fluid truth all the time in every instance. There's gradual drift and loss of integrity that will repeat over and over again, and maybe just sort of have to. The solution is not to bury our heads in the sand and cling to something that's clearly broken and based on a lie. It's going to be up to us and will always be up to us, primarily as individuals, but then, you know, aggregating out into humanity to like fight that difficult fight and find what those things are and find that beauty and those virtues and to try to stand for them ourselves and to not get bitter or resentful and to try to be as zoomed out as possible, right? To see it as a process. It's bigger than us. We can't really know or see the full flow of history. We can just try to play our part really well. And a great point in the show that's come up over and over again is things going wrong, mistakes happening is perhaps an inevitable part of the process. And then finally, even if God is erased from society, it can't be erased from human souls. The things that are really important, you know, if there's anything important in God at all, that is not something that goes away. If something really matters, it's probably something that is so deeply true, so fundamental that it's unchangeable. And the only difference is how attuned we are to it and how much we try to align ourselves with it. And that cannot be captured or monopolized by any group or sect or time period. Forgetting God for a second, right? Taking an abstract concept of the most beautiful thing, the most important thing, the best thing, every single positive attribute you can imagine, what would that be? And could anybody definitively say that only they have a right to that thing? Okay. You're free to leave. Yeah, I mean, basically. Anthony just tuned out from that whole conversation. He heard not a word of that. He was thinking about how he's spending his money or how he's gonna like hoard his money. Oh, this is a dark shoulder pad. Dark religious shoulder pat, unlike the shoulder pats in Attack on Titan, which are very wholesome and heartwarming. Well, why don't you go doubt somewhere else outside of my view? Oh, does he have a bomb? Or poison? Oh, fire. Oh, he's holding this torch. This is a very primitive technology, but it's effective. I mean, he's good at what he does. Oh no, but the books! I don't care about Anthony, but the books and Draka. That would be a tragedy. What would you really be accomplishing, though, Novak? Oh my god! I didn't even need the fire. What does he have to lose, honestly? I mean, yeah. This is when he's at his most dangerous. When people are at their most dangerous. What else could you take from this man? Can't say I'm super sad to see this happening to Anthony. It's amazing how that sentence means something totally different than what it means literally. It was very abrupt, yeah, it was super sudden. That I didn't need to use, because I just stabbed him. Is this going to be like a murder self-harm thing? I know your daughter. I mean, neither of them know what's going on. Yeah, for the fight against heliocentrism, his life's pursuit probably would. Oh my god, you can jump through that. Oh, you should, I mean, easy for me to say, right? Oh no! No, 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 no! This is going so horribly wrong. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He doesn't care if he burns. I mean, he might be relieved, honestly. He's not in a nice place right now. This is it, man. You did all this. This is your life. Oh, we're gonna be visited. Oh no. Oh no. Weird that this could turn into something beautiful here. Like, this could be a weird sort of like internal penance. In fact, I think that would be really great and sort of needs to happen for Novak. Too bad you can't like unstab everyone though. Such a mix of emotions. You have that crazy scene and the horror of watching Novak go through this existential demolishment and seeing Draka get stabbed, followed by Rafal's smiling face, which is always a sight for sore eyes. Heart immediately warmed. You might be taking a look back at the legacy. Yo. Episode 23, Comrades. Maybe. It just might be.
多分死にかけで朦朧としてて勝手に見えてるだけの幻ですよ。
It could be both. As All Might said, what am I supposed to do with this hallucination?
どうでした？あれから。
They were going alright and then not so great and now really bad. Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of to unravel that day. Wow, way to blame the kid, the little kid.
僕だってあれに輝かしい未来を潰された人ですよ。
Yeah, I mean, right, that too. Yes, it was hilarious how you killed all those people. I'm in between laughing and crying, honestly.
いえ、大丈夫です。
It was never in the necklace.
僕は幻ですから受け取れませんし。
Right, you're losing it, man. You're dying.
それはもう僕だけのものじゃない。
It's yours now. Yep, that's a terrifying question.
それぞれの状況の中でやれることをやった。お互いにね。
お互いじゃない。
Yeah, I don't really like that. It's not that simple.
私はこの物語の悪役だったんだ。
That's incredibly sad. That's incredibly sympathetic and sad. These are hard moments.
この世には様々な人がいる。正直者も嘘つきも情けないやつも勇敢なやつも。さらに驚きなのが一人の人間にそのすべての要素が入っていることもあるし。
Moment to moment.
こんなに大勢いるのに誰一人同じ人はいない。
Also true.
そりゃ争いは絶えないでしょう。
It's incredibly complicated and difficult.
長い時間を隔てた後の彼らから見れば、今いる僕らは所詮皆おしなべて15世紀の人だ。
You old-timey fools who thought the earth was flat and the center of the universe. That is sort of a thing, right? Like, it's hard to think about people in the past, especially in their full weight and complexity. And, you know, they probably weren't all that different. And they probably weren't even stupid. Holding a belief that's just a common conception at the time is not the same thing as being a fool, you know? It's very complicated. Surely, and this is a famous idea, that applies to us in some ways. There are certainly things that we believe, unquestioningly, that people 500 years from now will think are ridiculous and they'll think we're stupid. But they're the stupid ones. The future is stupid.
僕らは気づいたらこの時代にいた。別の時代でもよかったのにこの時代だった。
That's all can of worms.
今、たまたまここに生きた全員は、たとえ殺し合うほど憎んでも、同じ時代を作った仲間な気がする。
Wow, that's so beautiful. Man, that's stunning.
同じ時代を作った仲間。
Rivals can become friends, like in the most universal way. There is a unifying thing there, and that's that we all probably deeply care about this moment in ways that no one who doesn't live in these moments ever will, probably. Maybe that's his point. That is a very interesting idea and very magnanimous. I mean, that's very Rafal. I think that I can sort of reconcile all these things by separating it into two ideas that are not necessarily mutually exclusive. It will depend on which level of lens we're looking at it. On net, in the most magnanimous, most faithful way, I agree with one of the ideas of the show that it's okay. We're gonna get it wrong, and that has its purpose and beauty. And in a long enough time frame, maybe, although it's tough, we can celebrate it. Actually, maybe what makes this more clear is like we can love Novak. We don't have to agree with him, and we can be 100% convicted that specific things he's done have been awful and still love him, right? But then the other side of that is that even if we do extend that sort of grace to other people, and even though we accept that we're not going to be able to do it perfectly, it's still important to strive for the best we can do, right? Just in the context of understanding and striving for a structure of good and bad, that acknowledgement, I think, is important. The zoomed out objective, nature will run its course, humanity will find the good type of thing, that's going to happen sort of one way or the other. You know, that's water rolling downstream, but we want to be the best participants in that we can possibly be. You know, we want to steward that as best we possibly can, and perhaps get there as painlessly as we can, and it maybe as quickly as we can, and however minuscule we are in the passage of time, to reduce suffering as much as we can, etc., etc. And like both of those viewpoints are valid and can exist harmoniously.
それは私を慰めてくれてるのか?
もちろん。僕はあなたが作り出してる幻ですし。
Yeah, there's a bleak reading of this too, which is just like you're coping pretty hard right now. I don't know if you're able or qualified to give yourself the forgiveness here. But I guess he doesn't. Yeah, he was awed by that interaction, if I recall correctly. It was sort of too much to bear, right?
何ですか?
You had something I didn't. I mean, you saw something that most people never do.
自分の信念や他人の信仰に殺されるには分かる。
That's a little more of a human touch than I thought.
そう思った。
Like you're a kid, don't do this.
あれは神から与えられた最初で最後の機会だったのかもしれない。でもその感情をめんどくさがって無視したんだ。
It's a very high bar.
悪役なんだ。
You were a great villain, if that's any consolation.
あと何か言いたいことはありますか?
Maybe you want to take a look at the sky if you can. I know you're inside, but I mean that seems to bring some people comfort.
私の娘は天国に行けたのか?
Depends on what you mean by heaven.
そうなってほしいなら、あなたがまだ生きてるうちにすべきだと思うことをしてください。やり残したことを。では、さよなら。
See you, Rafal, and thanks. What do you do now, Novak? What are you supposed to do? You can't unstab Draka. Oh no, his suspicions. It fits perfectly. She grew into it. Remember when there was that scene about the gloves not fitting and her growing into them?
お前も見つけたんだな。
I don't know what to think of this.
地獄に落ちたっていいと思えるもの。神様。
I guess all I can do is pray, right?
娘の過ちはすべて私の勘違いが原因なのです。
Here's some responsibility.
どうか。
He gets to see it.
どうか。娘は天国へ。
It's much more human. At least his last thoughts are of his daughter. Terrible. There goes the pendant. Oh, it's tragic. I don't really know what to say about that scene. I mean, to his credit, he faced it and he tried to repent. He put it on his own shoulders. And I think he at least found what was important there, which was his daughter and his love for his daughter, which, like, I mean, who cares about the doctrine, right? It sure was a sympathetic, sad, touching moment for, you know, the villain of the story. I mean, there's something sort of like God's love in there, right? It's a very religious message, you know, loving the sinner and also Thorfinn. There are a lot of interesting ways this can go from here. There's no way she can write this whole thing on a pigeon, right? What did it say on the paper? Heliocentrism is real. Oh, I had hope for a second here. Imagine all this being a dead end. After all that. And ironically, Novak winning. This is a very, very interesting question that I sort of hope the show gets to. Because I think the surface level interpretation of all this would be that if there is no result of all this, it was all worthless, right? But I actually think, given the show's propensity to take the most expansive view, there are very strong arguments for that not being the case, even if this never gets out, even if there's no influence. Now, I suspect there will be influence somehow, maybe through that pigeon. It wouldn't be the craziest thing we've seen in the show. But even if this was an intellectual dead end, it doesn't make Draka's life worthless. It's just much harder to narratively trace, and that's different. She's having the same reflections that Novak did. Rafal's like, hey, it's me again. Just visiting everyone today. Your life had worth. Oh, it's the sun. It's the morning sun. It's the morning sun to Oxy's night stars. And this was his promise, Schmidt's promise, or his request. You will live to see the sunrise. Praise the sun. Oh, it's still awful though. I would have such crazy mixed emotions all the time. But I think that this is her at peace, right? This is an answer to that problem that she just posed herself about, like, it didn't mean anything. I think just philosophically, I tend to fall on the side of the answer is probably something like process, not result. Result is important, and result is something we can effectuate. It's not like things are totally random and unpredictable. We have a ton of influence in our immediate environments, more than we think. But like every step farther outside of like your immediate thing is an exponentially higher degree of unpredictability and unknowability. So you throw in the complexities of time, and like even the thing you're certain went well has just infinitely uncountable subsequent effects throughout eternity that who the hell knows, right? It's gonna play out the way it's gonna play out with all of these influences put together, which isn't to say that the results aren't important. It's just like, it's not a reliable touchstone. What's a more reliable touchstone is if you can locate anything remotely resembling the pursuit of some sort of objective goodness or value in the universe, or just more locally in humanity, to just get as close to that as you can and trust that the rest will take care of itself. Because if there is something like that, well then it just makes sense that that would probably be connected to things ultimately going well, right? Or else why would it be good? What other standard is there for goodness? It's just that we're too limited in scope to see that full zoomed out picture across all people, across all time, and like everything that stems from humanity here on out. So if you just embody that, you do your best to be good, whatever that is, then you've done it. You have achieved something beautiful and probably eternal, even if there's no written record of it or oral record of it. And even if your name is forgotten to time, your record is in the DNA of cause and effect in action. And in that moment, in your lifespan, you did good. And that's maybe one possible sort of out there metaphorical interpretation of heaven and hell, right? Like that's just what is for eternity now, because that's locked into time. I think that this initially appears unsatisfying, right? Like it's like, so what? But then that might just be because the standard of evaluation and judgment on it is based on the idea of consequence being the most important thing. So if consequence is the thing that matters the most for significance, then of course not being able to trace a consequence of significance is going to feel like failure. But maybe that's the wrong numerical base for our analysis. Maybe the base actually is just like goodness. And if there is something that actually is anything even remotely resembling God or some sort of divine goodness, what actually could be better than, like, with every available ounce of agency that we have, with every tiny element of choice that's in our hands, we choose the best one, the closest to that good divine thing. What would it really matter then how like that pinged out against other people's actions in the next like 10 years or 50 years or 500 years? Or if it did matter, why would that be in our purview and not in God's purview? What's in our purview and what's up to us and where we have most significance is the things that we are and the things we actually can affect, which maybe just boils down ultimately or most concretely to us and our choices. And that can include the moments, right? It can include the appreciation of beauty. It can include the understanding. It can include moments of peace. It's possible that all of that plays a role, an important role, even if we can't fully draw that narrative thread between what we experience and what the significance is or will be. 1468 Urban District. That being said, I do like a good narrative, so it'd be nice if narratively all of this had some sort of effect that we can trace. I'll have some bread. Where are we going? What are we doing with this? Where are we? Orb on the movements of bread? Heliocentrism is real. This feels familiar. Almost just a natural at bread. Why do you look so solemn? He doesn't really want to go to college. I'd rather do this. I mean, it seems like he's doing what he likes. Oh, I mean, I can relate. Hey, I think we have something in common, you and me. Wait, who is Albert? Wait, who is... I feel like I'm supposed to know this guy. Oh, famous last words. Yep, you're gonna definitely get pulled into this adventure now. You just doomed yourself because you just said you want a normal life with no problems. That's exactly when problems find you. This is resisting the call of the hero. Though, like, I don't know, college is sort of a lame quest. Good question. Oh, and there it is. that Astrolab's going to get you into a lot of trouble. So what was on the note that Draka sent? It seems like we just skipped around or ahead. I'm not really sure what Albert's connection is to this whole thing, but I guess this is just the introduction. As an episode of Orb on the Movements of the Earth, pretty stunning. Heartbreaking. Novak, man, he's quite the character. It's almost trite at this point, but it's one of those things that, you know, meditating on it, focusing on it really intently, it takes on new life and new levels. This idea of hate the sin, not the sinner. It's really, really hard. I mean, it might be easy when watching a TV show about Novak, right? Because what are the stakes for us? But then, like, try applying that to somebody who is saying something or that, you know, we have in the category of threatening person. Very, very, very difficult. But I think it's important. I think that distinction is so important. Like, just the act of making distinctions is so important in general, and understanding that it doesn't all exist in a congealed mass. There's nuance to things, and that they can be nuanced and really complicated, and we have to look at them in the specific at the level of the molecule, and still it can be consistent for there to be some sort of objective truth, and we have to sort of balance all of that on our shoulders and try to hold the torch for it, even if it feels like other people aren't doing that, or other people are threatening us, or, you know, we're in danger, because if this belief catches on out there, catches on widely enough, that directly endangers us, we feel, or are led to believe. Though it's not inconceivable that that could be true sometimes. We have to aim for that, even though there is no immediate reward. In many cases feels detrimental, is lonely, not for recognition, not for result, but because that's the right thing to do. And that's like the best thing to do. And that's it. And it's hard. It's hard to look at it in its fullness and in the responsibility that carries, you know, to not get cynical, to not make excuses, to have a code, whether or not that's a religious one, to have faith, to believe that there are higher things than just the most obvious and immediate distractions in our vicinity, our own immediate pleasures, etc., etc. It's tough. I mean, the show takes a very complicated, sort of unforgiving but beautiful look at the different elements of belief and how they play out across people and time. Rofal said that we'll just look at this as, like, you know, these people in the 1500s, but this could just as easily be the modern era.